This screencast is intended to help you understand how the assignment related to the autobiography and biography works. First, I'm just going to log in to Blackboard site. And once I get in, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the assignment specifically described for this assignment. It's the first one that's due on May 27. So you have two options here. You can write your own biographical sketch, or you can write a biographical sketch that's about somebody else. Either way, there are some questions here to think about as you go through. You're not limited to these questions, but these are some of the questions that might prompt your thinking about this particular assignment. This assignment will build on your application of counseling theory to that sketch. And I know it says autobiographical, but it could be biographical as well. Until this past winter, I've only had one option available for this assignment, and that was to write your own autobiography. But what I found was for some students, their own story is a little too close, and there may be some information about themselves that they're not really comfortable sharing with others. So rather than simply require only the autobiography as an option, I added the option as doing a biography or telling somebody else's story. That way they can control what you're sharing as they're sharing it with you. And they can also give you consent. If they're not interested in sharing, you just have to find someone who would be interested in sharing. You don't have that option if I'm only asking you to tell your story. Your students found themselves, and I didn't get any negative responses from students on this particular issue, but they really didn't have an issue or an option with this having to tell their own story. So this gives you some options to consider. I did create a sample autobiography. I didn't create it. I got permission from a student to share it. And notice when I talk about APA format for a paper, because this is not being submitted for review and it's also not a scholarly paper, it's your story. So you'll find some things that I don't have a running header, I don't have an abstract. Those are things that are called for in the APA manual, but they are not needed for this particular writing assignment. And instead, the student simply put some identifying information here. I do like that where APA format comes into play is with headings. First level headings for APA are centered and in bold, and so you see that throughout the particular paper. There's also a 1-inch margin all the way around, and the page numbers in the upper right hand corner. Those are APA considerations, as well as the font. It's you can see it's 12 characters per inch. And it's also Times New Roman. I think folks can also use Calibri as well as a font, or Courier is another option that is often present for students in their writing. So any of those three should be fine. I just turn it back there. So you can see that this student decided to use an analogy to tell their story, and as you go through comparing life to chutes and ladders, and then the headings sort of matched up with that idea. You certainly don't have to be clever in your presentation. You also have some flexibility of how you tell your story. You can tell it chronologically, from younger to today. You can relate it to different events that don't have to be necessarily chronological, but they could be impactful moments. So it's really up to you. You've got a lot of flexibility, and I think that's part of what adult learning is all about. I didn't make this particular example available to you, but you can see it on the screen here as a student is going through. They've sort of arranged it chronologically, where the start of the story is sort of what they call learning the game and starting to climb ladders. And next is a new level that they found, taking a new path, the higher education ladder. Interestingly, they don't describe any chutes in this experience, although I imagine there could be chutes for the student along the way. The 6 pages are a minimum. This student happened to go to 9 pages, and you'll also notice that there are no references. I wouldn't expect references in this particular paper, but there is a conclusion that they finish up with as you go through. I really see this paper as a pass-fail experience. It's hard for me to grade a student and give them less than. Really, the only situation that I might give you fewer than full points is if you're not using the APA style in terms of double spacing. I can say a few things about that. Notice that this student doesn't have extra space between. Sometimes you'll get before and after your paragraphs, you'll see extra space between them. So that because of the line spacing, when you go to paragraph, I just right click and write paragraph, and I'll just want to set this to 6, from 6 to 0, and then it's double spaced. I also have a Mac here, so this may look a little different than a Windows PC version. But now you don't see extra space, it's consistently double spaced. I mean, that's a minor issue to think about when you're thinking about APA format. But that's pretty much it with this particular paper. And I'll go ahead and save it. Again, these are really prompts to get you to think as you're preparing to tell either your story or somebody else's story, either one of those options. When it's time to submit, you'll simply go to the assignments, click here. Nobody will turn in a hard copy to me. You'll see the points, and you'll just simply put browse my computer, find the file that you want to upload. I think I'll just find that sample paper that I just had. I think it's under, here it is, sample autobiography. And then simply hit submit. If you want to leave me any comment, you can do that. I would ask that you not do a text submission and submit it here, but rather use Microsoft Word document. If you don't have Microsoft Word, whatever word processing, some folks use Google Docs, then I would just ask you to save it either as a Word document or a PDF and upload that Word document or PDF to the Blackboard site, and then hit submit. You're good to go. Remember, it's important that you do hit submit or I won't get it. You can save as a draft and come back to it, but no need to do that if you're just uploading a document. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me to ask. Thanks so much. Hope this is helpful to you. Look forward to reading what you submit.